Make sure I can see the chat here. Awesome. All right. Thank you. So again, a good evening and for joining tonight's meeting. My name is Devon Nolan, and I'm the co-chair for this season of Homegrown Minneapolis Food Policy Council. So before we begin, I'd like to note that this meeting includes remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021 due to the declared local health pandemic. So now we'll call this meeting to order and ask Grace to call the roll call so we may verify the presence of quorum. Council members, when Grace calls your name, please say present, but also introduce yourself briefly along with your organization affiliation as applicable. For any community members on the call, we will provide an opportunity for you to introduce yourself after the roll call is complete. Thank you, Grace.
All right, thank you. Kavelyn Allandez. Oh.
Sorry. Present. I'm Kavelyn Allandez, and I work for the Dakota County Public Health Department in health promotion. And I'm also associate faculty at the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, and I'm a Minneapolis resident.
Thank you. Jenny Breen.
Present. Hi, Jenny Breen. Local food, culinary, nutrition, food systems, education consultant. I teach at the university and I work in partnership with lots of organizations from the Good Acre to East Side Table to Appetite for Change to all sorts. I'm really tired. I was teaching all day and I'm just feeling it in my body. So
yeah.
Thank you for being here. Jason Brisson.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jason Brisson. Likely the first time you're seeing or hearing from me. I just joined. This is my first meeting. I am the representative designated from the City of Minneapolis's Community Planning and Economic Development Department. So if you ever hear people talking about CPED, that's what it stands for. And I work in the Business Development Department. The best way to think about it is we just work with businesses on financing, technical assistance, and things like that. My specific role is primarily in lending. So I do a lot of lending for projects and have been mostly focused on the north side. So the one challenge of my work is that I do this much of what the north side needs. And so joining this committee was my ability to get more involved in some of the other things that are needed on the north side and throughout the city as well. But that's sort of where I'm focused in my department. So great to meet all of you, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Keely Cervantes.
Present. My name is Keely. I work as the Food and Agriculture Program Manager at Conservation Minnesota, and we do political advocacy work around the state. And right now I am calling in from my car with my 2-year-old. He's on the call with us today, and we live in South Minneapolis.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Matt Croston.
Hello, I'm Matt Croston. I don't actually have a professional affiliation with this group, but I am a proud Northeast Minneapolis resident and happy to be here.
Thank you. Jalen Elam. Absent. Kevin Ellis.
Present. Hi, everyone. I'm Kevin Ellis. I'm a conservation specialist with Hennepin County Environment and Energy, and a South Minneapolis resident myself.
Thank you. Nolan Green.
Hi, I'm Nolan Green. I represent Twin Cities Co-op Partners as a produce manager, and I am a former resident of Minneapolis, current still in Hennepin County. So
Great. Brandon Griffin. Brandon Griffin, are you here?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I've got a tremendous lag on my computer. I apologize. Brandon Griffin, Senior Vice President of Operations at the Sane Foundation. Support food distributions, the Corcoran Park and Camden neighborhood, as well as various areas of Hennepin County. And I live in South Minneapolis. Good to see you all.
Thank you. Rebecca Gross. And I know she can't make it today. Kim Havey.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Kim Havey. I'm the Director of Sustainability for the City of Minneapolis, and am very interested and supportive of doing things that support a local agricultural economy and also support healthy living for folks where we're able to get healthy foods grown locally and created and crafted locally. So just happy to be here and part of the group.
Thank you. Andrea Inoue.
Hello, President Andrea Inoue, also in the car with my small child at the moment, transitioning momentarily here. I'm in the mayor's office, and part of the work that I support in the mayor's office is the Food Council, as well as general food security and food justice work at the city. And I am also a South Minneapolis resident. Thanks.
Danielle Isaacson.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Danielle Isaacson. I'm with the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, specifically with the Ag Water Quality Certification Program.
Thank you. Marcus Carr.
Hey, everybody, I'm Marcus Carr. I am the Director of Programs for Youth Farm in North Minneapolis. I'm also your mayoral pick as a co-chair of the Food Council, Homegrown Food Council. And yeah, longtime resident of Minneapolis.
Thank you. Kevin Copraseth.
Hey everyone, I'm Kevin Garpersett with the City of Minneapolis Health Department, Food, Lodging, and Pools section. Also a former resident of North Minneapolis.
Thank you. Kristen Klinger.
Hi, everyone. This is Kristen Klingler. I am representing the Minneapolis Health Department as well. I am a member of the Healthy Living team, which is focused on chronic disease prevention. And I get to do a lot of nutrition and food access work in my role at the health department. And I live in South Minneapolis.
Thank you. Will Lucker.
Hi, everybody. My name is Will. I work at CAPI USA, which is a wraparound social services org and food shelf for immigrants and refugees. And I'm a resident of downtown Minneapolis.
James Miller. James Miller, are you here?
Yes. Yes, sorry. I was having issues with my mic. I think it's coming through now. But I'm James. Kind of in between roles work-wise, but was formerly with Youth Prize and also live in South Minneapolis. So glad to be here.
Thank you. Leslie Modrak.
Hi, everybody. I'm Leslie Modrak. I was appointed by the Minneapolis Park Board to be their liaison here, and excited about it. I'm also a Southwest resident, and I am very involved in Sioux Line Community Garden, which is an organic garden located on the Midtown Greenway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Liz Mullen.
Hi, Liz Mullen. I am the executive chef of Chowgirls Catering in Northeast Minneapolis, and also the founding chef of Minnesota Central Kitchen, which is a part of Second Harvest Heartland, with many other organizations, kind of an all around getting food to the community, but also getting local food to the community, food with no place to go. It also is inclusive of employment. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Devon Nolan.
Good evening. My name is Devon Nolan. I am the other coach here with Homegrown, and excited to be serving with all you dynamic folks. So glad to learn more about what all of you are doing. Lots of new faces. Thank you.
Thank you. Helen Schnoes.
Hey everyone, Helen Schnoes. I am the outreach manager for the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District, and I'm the Minneapolis Public School appointee, and I live in Southwest Minneapolis.
Thank you. And Julie Wong.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Julie Wong. I'm the founder of U Fisheries. We make smoked salmon and jerky. And I am also the founder of a financial fintech platform to help small businesses manage their finances and figure out next steps. So I'm interested in helping small businesses, vendors in general. And I live in South Minneapolis as well.
Great, thank you. With that, we do have quorum. More than that. Thank you, everyone.
Yay.
Are showing up? We could be doing with our time, right? And I appreciate your sacrifice and being here. So at this time, if there are community members who have called in, please feel free to unmute and briefly introduce yourself with your name and or organization affiliation, if it's applicable, please. Thank you. So
I can kick off staff introductions and if there's community members as well.
Sure.
Hello, everyone. My name is Grace Rude. I am on the Homegrown Minneapolis Initiative team at the City of Minneapolis Health Department, and happy to be here helping out with roll call and anything else you might need. Thank you.
And good evening, I'm Patty Bowler, Director of Policy and Healthy Communities for the Minneapolis Health Department, and oversee the Homegrown Minneapolis Initiative. You know that Tamara has departed, but I'm diligently working on trying to post her position. Don't have a timeline quite yet for that, but just wanted to let you know that that's where it's at. And I'll kick it over to Tong.
Hi everyone, my name is Tong Tao. I provide administrative support to Homegrown Minneapolis, and I'm just hoping to get all of our requirements in line, and I'm happy to be here today.
Yeah, my name is Abdi Kaliksa Hall. I'm a food security specialist with the Homegrown Minneapolis team at the health department. Excited to just kind of have this opportunity to be here and watch and support as well.
Woo, just trying to get off mute. That's like my new job now. So much city staff or public health staff for introducing yourself. Were there any other community members who wanted to take a chance to introduce yourself? Again.
I will introduce myself super quickly before y'all jump in. Hi, I'm Claire. I'm a Minnesota Green Corps member serving with the City of Minneapolis Solid Waste and Recycling. And I'm just here to tune in. I was on a few months ago before a lot of turnover, so I'm excited to hear what y'all have in the works. And I'll be sticking around till the end to give a quick community announcement too. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Claire.
And
Anyone
Devon,
else?
do you mind if I just, yeah. Hi, my name's Therese Hill. I'm sorry I got kicked off just a minute ago, so hopefully I'm back on. But Therese Hill, I'll be talking further down the agenda about a collaborative program that I work on, but my my title or my professional work is as an engagement manager with M Health Fairview, and I work primarily on their food access programming. So excited to be here.
Thank you, Therese. Anyone else? Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Make sure I didn't hear anything. Thank you so much to staff for joining us for tonight's meeting. With that, we'll proceed to our agenda. City's legislative information management
I'm sorry, Devon. You're going in and out.
Oh, am I? Uh-oh. Maybe I'll just turn my camera off while I'm talking. Is that better?
That's much better.
Turn my camera on. Is that better? Can you hear me?
A little bit.
I'm going to relocate. Give me 1 second. Is that better?
There you go.
It's that time of the internet where everybody's online and things just get a little wonky. So I'll probably be off camera, but you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, I'll read that again just to make sure you heard me okay. We'll proceed with the agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access to the city's legislative information management system, which is available at lims.minneapolismn.gov. And I'll read that again, lims.minneapolismn, all one word, .gov. So first order of business is the adoption of our agenda for tonight's meeting. For council members who've had a chance to look over the agenda, if there are any comments otherwise, may I have a motion from the council member to approve, please?
I move to approve.
We have a motion from Marcus. May I get a second?
I'll second that.
Second.
Oh, I got 2 seconds. Let's see, who was the quickest on the draw there? Just say your name when you second. That
Jason
would be
beat
great.
me to it.
Okay,
We got a
Jason B.
second
I
from
got it.
Jason.
Sorry. I'll let him
Got
have
it. It's a race, let me tell you. You got to be quick with the draw. So we got a second from Jason. We have a proper motion before us. Is there any discussion before Grace takes the roll?
Just a quick note, if you would like, you could also amend your motion to pass the minutes at the same time. You don't have to, but that is an option.
That's right. We did start doing that. That's way more efficient. So how about we amend the motion? If that's okay with Marcus and Jason, to have a motion to approve the adoption of tonight's agenda and the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
I move.
Got a motion from Marcus, second from Jason, and now we can take roll. Thank you, Grace.
Thank you. Probably don't want to hear my voice that much. Kavelin Alondes.
Yay.
Denny Green.
Yay.
Jason Brisson.
Aye.
Keely Cervantes.
Yay.
Roston.
Aye.
Elam. Kevin Ellis.
Yay.
Nolan Green.
Yay.
Brandon Griffin.
Aye.
Rebecca Gross. Kim Havey.
Yay.
Andrea Inoue.
Yay.
Danielle Isaacson.
Aye.
Marcus Carr.
Aye.
Kevin Kipraseth.
Yay.
Christina Klingler.
Yay.
Bill Lucker. Will Lucker.
Yay.
Thank you. James Miller.
Yay.
Leslie Modrak.
Yay.
Is Mullen.
Yay.
Von Nolan.
Yay.
Helen Schnoes.
Yay.
Julie Wong.
Yay.
Thank you. That passes.
All right. Thank you, Grace. So that motion passes. We adopted both the minutes from the February 9th meeting and the agenda for tonight. The next order of business, let's see, I'm skipping that. We did that. Go back to the agenda here. Thank you. So we'll have a couple of presentations tonight. The first presentation will be, is Hikaru on the line? I don't know if she's here yet.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I missed the opportunity to introduce myself, but yes, I've been lurking.
Thank you, Hikaru. Awesome, good to hear your voice. So we'll start if you're ready.
Sure. I would actually like to screen share, but I'm not sure if I'm able to do that.
Let me just do that for you real quick here. And all right, that should work for you.
Oh, weird. It has, it's only giving me like a dark screen to share it. I'm not sure what you're gonna see if I pull it.
Oh dear. We can troubleshoot.
I could have also sent you the PDFs that I sent if you're willing to kind of screen share that, and then I know there are 2 slides on a sheet, but I think if you can somehow look at 1 slide at a time, that would work well as well.
So let me just pull that up real quick. Thanks.
Yeah, if you while Grace is pulling up the visuals, if you just want to give us a little background, Hikaru, on what we're going to see.
So, you know, it's really like the state of your farmers markets kind of report every year that we're able to share. The Matrix project, you know, has been going on since 2016, and it really has been, you know, only made possible through the strong leadership of Homegrown Minneapolis office in Tamra, and I'm really grateful that we're able to continue this really important work. One of the things that we've been doing with the metrics collection method that we've kind of developed over the years with the managers is to look at the markets in a holistic way. So we collect information from the vendors, we collect information from the visitors, we also collect information from the managers. And when you know, 2020 season came around and we realized that we couldn't be in person, we had to adapt. And so manager survey, which was already online, it also gave us an opportunity to make the vendor survey also online. And then this year in 2021, we've even pivoted further so that the customer or the visitor collection method could be handled with a much trimmer staff. And so, Grace, if you can scroll down to the next slide. Yes, so what we kind of adapted is you might have been used to seeing 4 easels at the farmers markets for the metrics collection to happen, where each easel was devoted to one single dot survey. In order to adapt, we kind of modified so that the one person is manning one easel with all the questions that we want the visitors to respond, and they can also completes that survey using the QR code as well. So it's been a little bit of a modified model. In the picture, you see Brian, who was able to help us with all the markets in Minneapolis this summer season. So you may have ran into him collecting information from you as well. And so next slide, please. Here's like the history of the scope of participation in Minneapolis. And it's really nice to finally able to see a time series evolution of how this is happening. So in 2021, we had 18 markets who were operating and participating in the metrics metrics efforts. We weren't, this was again another transition year, so our team wasn't as coordinated either. We were missing a few vendor directories, but we have obtained from all the largest markets in the city. And so we have roughly about 450 vendors, and then 120 of those completed the vendor survey. So about 25% of the vendors completed the survey. And as you can see with the modified approach, we have far fewer dot survey participants, but still, close to 1,300 people participate in the dot survey. And then 7 of the managers complete the survey in a timely way to include in the report. So a couple of highlights, and we shared last month, we shared with the managers like more of a complete history starting from 2017 on. But here I'm sharing just like how 2021 compares to the last normal season, which was 2019, and also including the 2020, which was like, of course, an oddball to all. So last year, when I reported on the 2020 metrics, we had a very optimistic number, partly because we were relying a lot on the self-reported numbers from the markets. But when I was taking a look at those again, in light of how 2021 was shaping it and whatnot, I kind of modified the estimate that we have for the total visits. I think we were down to about 0.9 million in 2020, and I don't think we gained back that much in 2021 as well. So I think we are about, what's that in percentage? About 40% of what it was in 2019. In terms of the total number of visits in the markets at the city. Some of the highlights from the vendors. One thing that's really nice is that we must be getting responses from similar vendors, because if you ask them about the average number of years they're selling at farmers markets, it's been gradually increasing, which is a good thing. You see that, it's always been an important place for new vendors to start their business as an incubator. And you saw the reduction of it in 2020 was not the great time to start your new business, but then it's actually rebounded a lot more in 2021. So you see a proportionally more new vendors at the market. You also kind of get a feel for what the overall farmers market situation was like. And so, in 2019, when you asked vendors at Minneapolis markets, how many markets they were vending, they were naming over 100, and it was down to 67 last year, and then now we're back up to like 70 plus. But you can still feel that the farmers market community isn't, it still was very heavily impacted by the pandemic, and it hasn't fully recovered yet. I would also point out that oh, I'm sorry. I think I actually updated the slides on this one. I botched up. I really own this. I actually tried to change the question on asking about the business owned by women this year, and I accidentally forced like a person to answer whether they wanted to self-describe their business as women owned or minority owned or first generation or multi-generation and so forth. And so we got a much smaller response, which is not comparable to the years in the past. What I wanted to point out was the average percent of primary decision makers under 35 years of age is very steady. It's like at 23% in 2021. It was around 22% in 2020, and it was 31% in 2019. So it's still a very young vendors that we are supporting in our farmers markets. And you can also see the percent vendors of color, which is much higher than the percentage of farmers of color in agricultural census, for example. So we're really supporting young and diverse vendors in our community. Here we updated the instruments a little bit in 2021 to get a little bit more meaningful numbers behind the economics of farmers markets. And so if you look at the average sales that the vendors are self-reporting for these past seasons, you see that it's no more than like 26,000. That was the highest number that we've gotten in 2019. It's around 22,000. And there were a lot of managers in particular who were concerned that this is not living wage. You know, how are these vendors making a livelihood? And so one key question that we asked in 2021 was, you know, what the percentage of total household income that these vendors rely on farmers market business. And we have a number which is 32%, which kind of puts this average sales number into perspective in terms of the livelihood. And then also, we always have asked, like, you know, what percentage of farmers were only selling through farmers markets, but we've never asked about the sales revenue share from farmers market in a typical year. And now we also have that number, which is 55%. So we know that these vendors really manage a very complex, diverse marketing portfolio, but farmers markets really is an important outlet in terms of a lot of vendors do rely a large share of their revenue from the farmers markets. Oh, sorry, Grace, if you can, yes, keep scrolling, that would be great. Here's some highlights from the farm vendors. One of the things, and I don't know if this is because of the pandemic or not, but I am noticing that before the pandemic, the percentage of vendors who sold farm products were less than 50% in the city of Minneapolis, but it has gotten more than 50% during the two pandemic years. And so I don't know if that means that, I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know if it's a permanent change or not, but I'm just reporting on that. And perhaps there are more farmers that are vending in the city of Minneapolis, as you can see with the total farm acres that are represented by the vendors at the city's markets. One thing additional question that we asked in 2021 was about their conservation farming practices. And I am so glad that we asked, because you see the numbers in the first column, where these are percentage of farming vendors who are following these environmentally friendly practices, like cover crops or doing rotational management, intensive grazing, and so forth. And on the rightmost column, I'm pulling these numbers for the Minnesota Agriculture Census. And you're just like floored at how responsibly environmental stewards these farming vendors who are at the farmers market. So one of the key things that we talked about in our discussion with the managers is that, yes, this farmers market community really supports young, diverse, but also environmentally stewards who are really important in our community. In just two more slides with now highlights from the visitors metrics. So now in 2021, we have some visitors metrics again. We always like to ask, you know, the number one reasons for the visit, because especially years leading up to the pandemic, there was a huge proportion of, or greater than what you think, of proportion of visitors who were there to just experience the market, to try it out, not to spend their money. But we have noticed in 2021, and we kind of expected this from what we heard from the vendors, that the visitors who were there at the farmers market were there to support them and to buy their product. And we see this number, if you compare it, which I'm sorry, I don't have it, but like compared to 2019, for example, we have a greater number of visitors who are saying that, yes, the number one reason is to buy the market. And it's reflected in the average spending that they're saying at the market. This one, I did put the time series in there for your reference, but it is the highest yet in 2021, where the average respondents are saying that they're spending over $25. This is still lower than, say, like numbers that I've seen reported in the state of Maine, for example. They have a farmers market average statewide, and it was close to 30. So I think we can do better, but this is definitely a significant improvement. And then the last two is we have a good diverse, accessibility things. So we still have a good portion of visitors who are attending the farmers market via foot. which is a nice diversity to see. And then one additional question that we had for the visitors in 2021 was asking them what goal for the farmers market really resonated the most to those visitors. And it's very clear that for a vast majority of visitors, it's really the place where they can obtain local foods and local food products. And so even though farmers market, serve multiple roles for the patrons or for the residents as a whole, this local food access seems to be the most resonating primary goals. And so with that, thanks again for letting me be involved in this farmers market work. And I am happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Thank you, Hikaru. Any questions? Anything that stood out? Anything that struck you? It was a lot of data. I happen to be very close to this work, so I appreciate all the hard work that has 6 years now, right, Hikaru? 6 years of data.
Yeah.
Worth of data to be able to show the economic impacts of farmers markets in the Twin Cities and beyond at some point, right? Statewide. So excited to have been one of the I don't know what you call people, founding members, whatever, folks who were figured that we needed this data to really tell the story. So thank you for that. I see a question in the chat. Do we know what led to the large number of vendors in 2017, 2018? Any insights on that, Hikaru?
No, but I don't know that. I think it was a natural progression. But I will say that I know that managers were kind of feeling like, ooh, there's a lot of almost like overcrowding. I don't think they were describing it in those terms, but I do remember in 2020, the markets that were able to operate, the managers were kind of saying that the spacing out felt like reasonable compared to the years past. And so I'm not answering your question directly, but I think there's definitely a sense of what is like an optimal density in the marketplace.
And I'm trying to remember what year it was when we expanded and started to pull in more markets. So that may also be reflected in the number.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
But when
I don't know.
Yeah, when we first started though, the farmers markets work, we had 30 some markets in the city, I remember. And then I think it has kind of tapered down. And so, yeah, I don't know what all that means, but yes, it's something for us to think about.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin, for your question. Any other questions, comments, thing that struck you, stood out? All right.
Do you want to let us know where we can find this data if you wanted to locate it or post it in the chat?
Yes, the slides that I just presented are actually in the agenda, but we do have, let's see, probably the best place to look for might be MISA's website, misa.umn.edu. We also do have FM360 site, which is fm360.umn.edu. I will put that in the chat as well. And yes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I do have one question, if I could.
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you for the presentation. That was really interesting information. I'm wondering if there were any recommendations you would put out to the group here. I'm thinking of things like, should we be making recommendations for managing farmers markets that have less vendors, kind of referring to what you were talking about with a note to try to increase sales per vendor to get to more of a living wage kind of thing? Or do you feel like the diversity is really what draws people in? Or any recommendations or thoughts that came out of some of the data that you reviewed?
So one of the things that we have been, since this is, really in full collaboration with the managers, that we like whatever, I am so sorry for the dog, whatever strategy we wanted to take, we want that to be realized through, decisions of the managers. And so I can't imagine like the city or the community coming up and saying that, hey, this is like an optimal, size for your market or whatnot. We want those decisions to organically come from at the market level. But that said, like all managers are seeing what their numbers are and how they compare to the citywide number. We're happy to have conversations with the managers, kind of saying like, hey, my vendors are reporting lower average sales than the citywide. Is there anything that we could do? And we're happy to be in a conversation like that.
I would also add, this is Jenny. I am a manager of a farmers market and a part of the Minneapolis Farmers Market Collaborative. So we have been working really closely with Hikaru, and all of the, the research comes to us, and we have a lot of conversations, and there's a great deal of collaboration, because I think Devon, I could say we are all very committed to raising all the things for our vendors. And so we're constantly strategizing about how to do that, how to do it together, how to support each other, what works for each of our markets, because they're all somewhat different. So yeah, this information has been incredibly useful for that.
Awesome. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for your question. I see Patty's hand and then Helen.
Yeah. Thank you, Hikaru, for the info. Tamara, now that Tamara's gone, I'm wanting to not drop any balls. Are there other audiences that we should be presenting this information to, or that have, heard this information? I'm thinking, farmers markets, it's a economic development strategy. So just wondered what your thoughts are about sharing this information more broadly.
Yes. So one of the things that we've done actually in 2021 was at the same time we collected information from the markets in the city. We also had similar metrics collected from the southeastern part of the state, and so we had like a regional cohort. And one of the ideas of Kathy Zeman of Minnesota Farmers Market Association is that she really wants to take this metrics statewide so that she can really have a collective impact of the farmers markets. At the city level, I'm more than happy to take my explain the data that we've collected and do it. If you see the benefit, I do think that since farmers market it's such a foundational institution and assets to the community's food system, that I'm sure there are additional audiences that could be, but we've been in conversation with MDH and MDA about our work, and so they're definitely aware of it. I don't know if they're really how they're interested in hearing our reports. I'm not sure, but they definitely know that we've been doing this work.
Okay, thank you. I'm just thinking, have we given a presentation to the city council, or are there, okay, and we'd have to think about, pairing that with recommendations. So anyway, I just wanted to, get more information. So thank you.
Yep.
And I had Helen next, and I just want to acknowledge Nolan has a coworker. I love when the they're always welcome to our night meeting. Helen, you were next.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, Hikaru. I know Tamara had been working on sustainable funding to continue the data gathering, because like you said, you're finally getting to a point we have good trend data, and we know that the last few years are really impacted by the pandemic, for different reasons. So I just don't know if you're able to share a little bit about how we're sustaining it, because I think, that's another space where recommendations are important, because there's a lot of work to gather the data. So if you have anything like that you could share, or that we could be supportive of as the council.
Yes, that's actually one of the things that I know, even to the last day, Tamara was in conversation with, and I can't remember, Patty or Grace, please help me. I know she was in conversation with another possible funding source for the to support the Minneapolis metrics collection. And, I think one of the reasons we have been able to have like a full-time series for the cities have been this, like, a little bit here and there, but we have been able to support the fund. The way that our metrics collection has kind of evolved is that we kind of have figured out like what the cost is, and so we know like exactly what the cost is as a cost recovery service to the communities or the markets that want the metrics. And so yeah, I think the funding form is definitely one thing. I'm currently writing a grant to the Institute on the Environment Impacts Goal to see if they would the way we're pitching it is that we want to be able to expand on the metro area to the greater Minnesota idea, but just different ways of seeking. And yes, a more permanent way of funding this work would be amazing, because it does suck like our energy and efforts in trying to secure funding.
Thank you for your question and comments, Helen, and for your response to Hikaru. I see Liz's hand up next.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I guess, and forgive me if this was part of the presentation, I just didn't see it. My thoughts are always on the food waste portion of everything as well. And I know, we have used food that had nowhere to go after the markets. Thank you for that. And, just kind of thinking of having that be part of the metric, or to show that you guys do a lot of that work to make sure that the waste is also a part of the circle.
Yeah, so one of the things that we have been collecting regularly is for vendors that sell farm products, like what percentage of them have been involved in food donation after the market, and also as a follow-up on whether they actually donated for a tax benefit, or they declined even though they know that it existed, or they just weren't aware of it. And one of the things that, and thank you for asking this, because one of the things that I do find it disturbing is over the years, the percentage of vendors who have donated but have declined to receive the tax benefit is actually really increasing. And I have a feeling that it's probably because the system is broken, so that there's no incentive for vendors to take advantage of that. And so, like, if the purpose really is to encourage, farm vendors to donate, so that we're all better about sharing all of this, I think there needs to be a review of that regulation, because it's clearly not incentivizing, and it's not working as it should. So, but we do have that, and we also have questions that we're asking the managers if the markets themselves are helping with the coordination of food waste collection afterwards.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation.
Thanks for your question, Liz. Hikaru. Any other questions, comments for Hikaru? Recommendations, ideas? No, I don't see none. All right, thank you again. I'm so excited for the next phase of this work. It's been amazing to watch it evolve and really be able to tell the story of the economic impacts of farmers markets. I think our initial goal was to become a line item in the mayor's budget, right? Like, how do we fund farmers markets in a way that's sustainable? It really doesn't cost much when you really look at the cost benefit analysis, right? We got the folks who can do that. That's not my area of expertise. But I know people, right? We know people. So thank you so much. It's been a great partnership.
Devon, there's one more question, I think, in the chat.
Been in the chat? Oh, let's see here.
Perhaps.
Oh, Julie, I see it. Sorry about that. Thank you, Patty. I sit on the board of the Northeast Minneapolis Farmers Market. We would like to increase, why can't I see the whole chat? There we go. We would like to increase diversity representation on our board to better serve our vendor base. But despite multiple efforts, we are unable to make much headway. Do you have any insights or suggestions? So it looks like a question from Julie, Northeast Farmers Markets, about increasing the diversity representation on your board. Interesting.
Yes, thank you for that, Julie. We actually did, and I have yet to take a deeper look, but in 2021, one of the items that we did ask the managers was about the diversity of their board, and I have yet to look at that data. But I think it's not just your market. I think a lot of the markets are kind of self-reflect to want to make sure that the board looks like the vendors and the communities that they serve. And so right now, I don't have any insights, but I do have data to kind of see what the baseline is. I am curious to know, like, what are some of the efforts that that your market has done in order to try to increase diversity. I mean, we do hear that argument that you know, if the role of a coach is to hire somebody, I can't remember, I am not paraphrasing it right, but I think if there's a will, there is a way to do it. I'm just kind of curious to know what were some of the things that your market has tried.
Yeah, so we have reached out to Board Repair. I think you probably have heard of it. We have not gotten a lot of responses. We're thinking of reaching out to vendors at our market, but vendors have a different mindset, you know. So the priority is viability, right? So we are not sure if we will get a lot of good response from that, but we will reach out to them as well. And we are also contemplating reaching out to vendors who are not at our market.
Excellent. Yeah, no, please keep us posted. And like I said, once I have a little bit more idea about the diversity representation of farmers market boards, I think it would at least give you a baseline to further contemplate. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. And of course, you know, to everyone here on the council as well, if anyone is interested in joining our board. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie, for the question. It's always welcome. This is a very dynamic and knowledgeable group, and who knows, someone might be interested. So thank you, Hikaru. Any other questions or comments? And I'll make sure I check the chat this time. Let's see. Seeing none. Okay, thank you. So up next, we will have our second presentation on the Community Cooks Meal Box Program with Therese Hill from M Health Fairview. That's the name now, right? I want to make sure.
Yep, that's
okay.
the name. Yes, it has changed.
Thank you so much.
What, 3 times over the last 3 years. We are now M Health Fairview. Is it all right if I share my screen?
I might need to give you permission.
Yep.
Looks like I am.
Voila.
Am I
Great,
sharing?
there you go.
All right.
We can see it.
Well, I did something new. I put together a presentation in Canva. So let's see how this goes. Okay. So can everybody see Community Cooks Meal Box Program?
Yay, yes.
Yay, okay. So like I introduced at the beginning, my name is Therese Hill. I am technically employed by M Health Fairview, but my work over the last 5 years has been primarily on the east side of St. Paul, working with a collaborative project called East Side Table. It's made up of 13 different partner organizations that all are invested and work deeply with East Side community members and in the East Side area. And our work group focused on access to healthy food, specifically through the development of new food skills. So we took the approach of designing a make-at-home meal kit program, which will come into play just in a little bit here. But that has been our major connection with community members over on the East Side. We've also done a lot of education and engagement events, community meals. We do monthly workshops or monthly cooking classes with Mississippi Market, and lots of other fun stuff. I also work for one of the largest healthcare systems in Minnesota. And some of the other work that I do is around our RX program. So if you're familiar with Veggie Rx programs or Market RX, or we had a Food RX, which was part of this meal box program. So I also work on some of that internal, internal food access, food distribution work in partnership with our clinics and hospital sites. So I was going to come today and share some about this Community Cooks Meal Box program, which is with a broader set of partner organizations. And I was definitely going to keep it pretty informal. I put together this presentation today, so much more, talking more about like the programmatic side of things and what we're up to with the Meal Box program. So I would, as we, as Devon was just mentioning, feel free to like share input or come off and ask questions as we go. We are lucky enough to have a couple of my main partners on this evening. So Jenny Breen as one of the members, and then Brandon Griffin as well. So I would welcome you both to, chime in and share as I go along. The next screen should be all of our partners. So the Meal Box program was started summer of 2020 when we were seeing the increased, highlighted and increased needs around food access and community members due to the pandemic and uprisings that were happening in both of the Twin Cities. We were also connected closely with the Good Acre and some local growers talking, looking specifically at this expected overage of produce based on the closing of institutional accounts. And Reese Williams always talked about it as produce that, needed to find a home, which I loved. And so those two opportunities, like sitting in our hands, these partners came together to talk about like what could we do as far, to create some avenue for this really cool, really great locally grown produce that is now going to be looking for a home. How can we support the farmers at this time by purchasing this and creating an outlet for this great produce to get to community members' hands that either need it or want it. And Eastside Table, having had some past experience with creating this Make It Home Meal Kit program, so thinking about not just CSAs or veggie boxes or veggie, fruit and veggie produce distributions, but how are you pairing that produce with locally produced or locally sourced proteins and pantry staple items, and then offering some suggested recipes. So in addition to a box of food and staples, there's also this engagement opportunity. So it felt really, the time felt really right for this kind of like engaging meal box where we could continue some connection with community members that we work with while also offering increased, food access. So the partners that we work with very closely with Appetite for Change. So they're a major partner in the West Metro, North Minneapolis. The Good Acre is our main source for that locally grown produce. The food group partners with us as a vendor and as a source for a lot of those pantry staple items. Jenny Breen, Transforming the Table, really helped, huge partner as far as that education components and the developing of the recipes, culturally appropriate, healthy recipes. And then Health Fairview lends their support with my time as a coordinator for this program. And then the Eastside Table partner organizations are all a piece of this work that we do. And so a lot of the meal box work also goes back to that other collaborative table. And then the Senate Foundation has been a major partner in distributing the meal boxes. And then there's some fun updates for this 2022 round in a deeper partnership with the Senate Foundation and how the meal box program is going to be working this year. The idea, I loved this. This is directly from Jenny's presentation. So I did not type this beautiful sentiment, but I do talk about the meal box program where like at the heart, it's really about getting good, healthy food into community members' homes, into their, their meal plans for the week, into their kitchens, into their stomachs. But there are so many other layers to this program around supporting farmer and grower, local farmer and growers, BIPOC farmers, local, local farmers, local growers, around some youth leadership, youth workforce development, job stability, food skill development, this food and nutrition education, as well as the food access. So, through these meal boxes, through the packing of these meal boxes, we're able to support in all these other ways. So the community participants, 74% identify as non-white, average household size of 4. 33% of meal box participants live below the poverty line, and 64% were worried about having enough food to feed their families, and 36% reported experiencing weeks when there was not enough food to feed their family and not enough money. So using those hunger vital signs to ask about food security. And then the rates for food insecurity, these rates for, in the communities that we work primarily, the east side of St. Paul and then North Minneapolis, in addition to some other Cedar Riverside and some other pockets in the metro area. These are higher rates of food insecurity than the state average. This is an old graphic, so it's a little bit outdated. Maybe it's just still appropriate. It's still correct, but it's just a little outdated maybe in the actual graphic. So the idea of it was to create, the idea of the Community Cooks Meal Box program was to essentially collaboratively design and implement, but create a product that, the main partners coordinating this product, we're sourcing, we're putting, working on the recipes, we're doing a lot of that legwork to put together this healthy, exciting, culturally specific recipe, everything that you need to make these meals at home meal box, and then identifying community partners to act as distribution partners. So for our first year in 2020, that right as the height of the growing season, we kicked off in August of 2020. The major distribution partners were on the east side of St. Paul through East Side Table Partners, Appetite for Change in North Minneapolis, and then we had some within the Fairview Health, mHealth Fairview system with some clinics. So those were our original distribution partners. But throughout the, and then last year that grew. And so the idea was that we were creating this product and then having it be available for additional partners if they saw a good fit for the communities that they work with. And that was intentional in the sense that while we are all collaboratively identifying the recipes and picking ingredients and talking through the materials that are included, we allow that individuality as far as like how does the community members that you work with, how do they best receive support like this? Is it pickup? Is it individual delivery? You maintain that direct communication and that contact with that participant. So we wanted to leave that connection between the distributing organization and the community member that was participating. In 2021, there were two additional distribution partners, one in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood, and then an additional one in North Minneapolis, as well as the Senna Foundation started distributing the meal boxes through some of their food distributions. And I wanted to put a picture of what the recipe cards look like in the meal boxes. So as you can see on the ingredient list, what would be in the box, can you see my cursor? Oh, it's got a cute little blue dot. So what would come in the box is, this one's maybe not the best example because we had already sent all of these ingredients. So the idea is that if somebody would enroll in the program, the plan is a 30-week round. So it would start when the growing season really kicks off in Minnesota and then run through the end of the year. And as they receive the boxes, they not only get that immediate, food, that fresh produce, proteins, but they'd also get the pantry staple items. So the different spices and oils, vinegars, and then some, storage, like eggs and onions, things that store pretty well. And so the idea is that it builds on itself throughout the year. And so they get some of those fresh ingredients that come in their weekly boxes, but then they've also been building their pantry through participation in the program. So for this week, we sent the lamb, we sent the fresh produce, we sent the perishable yogurt, but we had also already sent cumin and paprika and cinnamon and chili powder. We were told that, very clearly a couple times, like, stop sending garlic. So, they'd have the garlic, olive oil, salt, pepper, and then they'd be able to make that recipe at home. It was also just a suggestion, if somebody had they were welcome, obviously, but, we heard from a lot of people that they just appreciated the ingredients and that they use them in their own way. But then we also included tips and tricks on the dishes, on the actual ingredients, and we would always highlight a partner or a grower. So there was 2 recipes in each meal box, one with an animal protein and one vegetarian. And so one recipe card would have the partner spotlight, and then the other one would have the grower spotlight. And we always included our mission around the program. My metrics and stats are not as clear as our previous presenter, and not necessarily my strong suit either. So I do have some of the major ones that we speak to. Which is, in 2020, right when we started this program, we were averaging 600 participating households per week for that 30-week round. So we started at 280, right, that urgent need, wanting to get these meal boxes out, just kicking it off as soon as we could. And then by the end of that program, we were at about 900 households receiving meal boxes each week, which comes out to about 20,000 12-serving meal boxes distributed for that in that first 30-week round. We did see a 12% decrease in households experiencing food insecurity. And the other major one we look at is the amount of produce that we're able to purchase from local growers. The one thing I will say about that is, well, I'll talk about it in a couple slides too, but wanting to pay very appropriate prices for the products that we're sourcing. So it's not necessarily about TFAP or minimizing the cost for these boxes. We really want to support and uphold the local food system that we have by paying appropriate life-sustaining prices for these beautiful locally grown produce. And so part of like the fundraising and the heart of this program is building it into the cost of these boxes. So it's the real the true cost. I will say, sorry, the true cost of the boxes. At this point, they are 100% subsidized for community members for participation. So the fundraising comes from the partner organizations and and raising money for their distribution groups. But coming up to, so I will talk a little bit more about financial sustainability. Last year, we had a larger group with an average of 783 participating households per week. We purchased just under 100,000 pounds of local produce. We don't have our full analysis of our pre and post survey, so I don't have information yet on the metrics that we track. One being the development of new food skills, and the questions that are asked really get at like, how do you feel more comfortable cooking at home? Do you do you feel comfortable breaking down, whole fruits and vegetables and following recipes, and thinking about that in this sense of helping to increase access to healthy food if you're comfortable cooking more meals at home and learning budget tips and being able to break down, cook from raw ingredients. And then using the hunger vital signs to screen for food security, both pre and post. But I did include some quotes because we hear from participants all the time about this program being fun and helpful. So two of my favorite ones. And then for 2022, as we kick off this year, and you can stop me if we're running out of time. I know we were getting a little bit later. But for this year, we are planning for 1,500 meal boxes per week for 30 weeks. So when I calculate that out, it's about 540,000 meals distributed in 2022. We've contracted with local growers for just for over 300,000, I think it's $320,000 worth of locally grown produce, so 160 pounds to be included in these meal boxes and go out to community members. I specifically want to call out that contracting piece because it's really it's a big it's a learning place for me and a really cool opportunity for us to like actually support the local food system, understanding how farmers, how growers think through their years, get ready for their seasons, and to be able to create some of that consistency or what's the word I'm looking for, like confirmation that this is going to be accounts, this is going to be an outlet for the produce that you're growing. And as a large healthcare system, this being a project that we're involved with, that we're helping to coordinate and like deep, really closely connected to. These are like really cool learnings or examples that I can bring back to a large institution who want, acting as an anchor institution in the Twin Cities and in the state to talk about how do we source from local growers, and that, you work this far ahead, you work months ahead, you contract with them, you help buy seeds, you're really thinking about this as a long-term partnership, a long-term investment in our local food system. So probably not news to a lot of people on here, but as far as like working that far ahead and kind of paying for, contracting for this produce months in advance, being a big piece of just like, how are we supporting this local food system? Another major and fun I just lost my new thing this year, and I know Brandon Griffin was on, is we will be partnering with the Senna Foundation to take a much larger role in the meal box program. So they will be acting as a community partner, co-packing these meal boxes. And then as part of like their mission, both with Appetite for Change and the Senna Foundation, we will be connecting with youth that they work with to offer really well-paying part-time work throughout this year. This workforce development piece is in addition to offering well-paying hours, well-paying part-time work to work out, to pack the meal boxes and to work within this program. We're also offering some workforce development programming or training throughout the year. So each month, the youth are also welcome or invited to come to different training or enrichment opportunities, site visits with some of our larger partners, Costco, 3M, the Good Acre, some of the credentials or training, like trainings like ServeSafe and OSHA 10. So offering these opportunities. So as youth are working throughout the year in the meal box program, they're also experiencing or receiving these other credentials so that they end up at the end of the year really well positioned to find well-paying work within the food system or in the Twin Cities. We're also piloting one financial sustainability, option where we're looking at a buy a box, give a box. So there's two ways that we're thinking about this. One is boxes being available through local retailers like Mississippi Market, but it would be at 2 times the market rate for the boxes, with really, clear information that this is what you're supporting and that your purchase of this box is then supporting another box for a community member that might need it fully subsidized. And then also engaging with individual donors. So if you're listening to this, or if there's some, finding individuals who might be interested in signing up for this program, like a CSA share, and they would receive these boxes throughout the year, weekly or monthly throughout the year, and then they'd also be supporting the program in that same way. And then we're also doing some social return on investment analysis, and I included this bullet point because one of the things that I'm really excited at looking at this year, and it was mentioned earlier, is these boxes, in our budget on paper are much more expensive than a different food distribution option if you're working with, conventionally grown or commodity foods or TFAP or rescue. But what we're feeling about it, the life-sustaining wages or purchases for that local produce, working with local protein, local producers, for a lot of the items that are going in there, including the education components, working within the healthcare system and seeing, offering this as a way of impacting some of those health complications that individuals might be experiencing that could be influenced by a healthier diet, really trying to paint that picture of what the return on investment is for this type of a meal box program versus a different food distribution, so that we can really truly make that case to either funders or a big piece of this. And I included these, so looking beyond this year, but I included these two pieces specifically to speak to, thinking about a retail model, again, building off that buy a box, give a box program, or pilot that will be running this year of like, where are these available with like the information about what you're supporting and potentially growing that retail piece of it, that social enterprise piece of it. And then I included the financial sustainability bullet because yes, thinking about how can this meal box program be sustainable without needing to find as much grant funding or contracts and grant funding and donations. But it also speaks to the really badass nature of collaborative work, right? Where we're looking at these different opportunities where as Fairview, as a healthcare system, like how are we, spending our time or investing some resources and exploring how to make these reimbursable by insurance. And so being able to leverage some of our relationships and the experience and expertise that we have as a healthcare system and really explore that and try to make it happen. Or, SNAP eligible, a lot of the East Side Table partners, I think of Urban Roots and some of the, farmers markets and Mississippi Market, like how can we put these on the shelf and make them available for individuals to purchase with their SNAP benefits. Social enterprise and thinking about appetite for change and like how great they are at like social enterprises and thinking through that as a model. And so that, kind of that buy a box, give a box program, how are we thinking about it in that way? And so that's, next year, as we move into this year and then next year, but some of those things are what we're really building out. And I think that was the end of my presentation. I can try to click out of here. How did I do that?
Thank you so much, Therese. That was amazing information.
Did I stop sharing now?
We can hear you. You can't hear us?
Did I close the sharing thing though?
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Okay, good.
You're good.
Yes. Yeah. So, so again, much more like programmatic or just what we're up to over there. But I was invited to come speak about it. We're really excited about where we're going in this year. It's going to be the largest group of participants that we've had so to date.
Yeah.
We're super jazzed about the Senna Foundation and the youth workforce development piece. Appetite for change. They're going to be employing their YTOP program, their youth in the YTOP program to repack some of those pantry staple items, and thinking through some really exciting ways to engage them around designing like a special spice blend that we highlight in a couple different weeks, and it's from the YTOP program and Appetite for Change. We've done some community sourcing of recipes, trying to match, since it is one standard box that goes out each week, trying to match or trying to balance this, recognizing culturally significant dishes for the community members that participate in the program, while also trying new dishes from, your neighbors or your, fellow community members in the Twin Cities area. And so always looking for fun new recipes to work with these local ingredients. So I can stop talking now, and I'm happy to continue talking, or you can reach out to me later, or
This is great. This is great information, Therese, and great to see the impacts of the program. I see a question in the chat from Kevlin. How are participants connected to the program initially through primary care visits? Great question, and I can't wait to hear the answer because I'm gonna let Therese talk about why we don't.
Yeah, so there's because we, thinking about these meal boxes as being a collaboratively designed product, and then allowing distribution partners to think through how, what distribution model or what method works best for their organization and the communities that they work with. So it varies based on who is distributing them. I know the Senna Foundation really focuses on large distribution events. And so getting, partnering with the Public Housing Authority and doing drops of these boxes, and then working with, volunteers to distribute them or to deliver door to door, that kind of thing. Whereas Eastside Table, since we've done a meal kit program in the past, we have quite a list of participants from the east side of St. Paul that have participated in the past, and so we just reach out to our existing community. We also enroll through our partner organizations. So again, there's 13 different partner organizations that make up the Eastside Table. Community Dental Care, Clues, American Indian Family Center, and so we just talk with them about how many enrollees that they think they would want this year, and then allow them to maintain that connection with participants. We're really just supporting by fundraising, putting the box together, getting them out to community members. And then to your question, so the RX programs, yes, are through primary care. I mean, it happens the same thing, the same sentiment that I was just sharing, is that it oftentimes looks different based on the patient and the clinic and the relationship with staff. So sometimes if there's a diabetes educator on staff, oftentimes they'll just have a good, good rapport with the patient, and they'll be able to offer these programs. But the idea is that primary care providers are screening for food insecurity at well visits or at visits, and then matching, food potential, food security need with health complications that would be influenced by a healthier diet. And then they would be, eligible for these programs. But oftentimes that's much more of a personal, they have a personal relationship with the patient, or they would recommend them for the program in other ways.
And one thing, can I just add one quick comment?
We have a couple hands up to Jenny, so I just want to make sure we get to Marcus is in queue, and then we'll have Liz's question after that. Thank you.
Yeah, I just was gonna, thanks, I'll be really quick. I'll just add to what Teresa's saying, is that I think the fact that a major healthcare organization, a major health foundation is backing this financially and investing in it is an opportunity for us to engage healthcare in more of this kind of work. And so that's a conversation that's ongoing.
Thank you, Jenny. I see Marcus's hand, and then we'll go to Liz's question in the chat.
Yes, this is amazing. By the way, amazing work, Therese. And, I love seeing it. I love hearing about it. I love seeing the level of collaboration there is in making something like this happen, especially with partners on the ground in North Minneapolis. The RX program is something that's been modeled in different cities that I've seen previously. There's a very slippery slope when it comes to actually making it function. It's really a grassroots effort that really makes it stick in places like Chicago. farm in Ogden and things like that in New York. One question I had about the only thing I was wondering about was when it comes to growers, right? You know, me, I'm a urban and a rural farmer. You know, is the CSA model, you know, there are different variations of CSA model, but what are the repercussions for not being able to meet, you know, the fruit of your labor? Last year we had difficulties when it came to drought and things like that, and a lot of CSA really struggled with providing their promises. And you're talking contract. So I just want to know what kind of difficulties you had around that, and how did you resolve that with the growers?
Well, we work through the Good Acre. So our major partners at, Steve from the Good Acre works very closely with the farmers to put the contracts in place for this mailbox program. But knowing last year and some of the challenges around the growing season and the weather and drought, and we hear that there was hail and it killed the last tomato crop or whatever. And so we would just have to be pretty nimble on what we were, the program, it's a little different than a CSA in the sense that we also pack to these recipes. So if at the last minute we had to switch up in what was going to be in the boxes, we had to adjust those recipe cards, which needed to be printed a couple days ahead of time. With the meal box program, we were very happy to do that. And so we go into the program knowing that, these things might change at the last minute, and we'll need to adjust the recipe or include a little note saying like, hey, the carrots aren't in there this week. We sent delicata squash instead or something. When it comes to this, I guess that, I don't know if that's answering your question.
It does.
But in going into this year, and this is the year that this is the first year that we'll have more of those formal contracts. And it's not necessarily an mHealth Fairview contract, it's working through the Good Acre, and that they've contracted for this amount, $323,000 worth of produce that this program will be purchasing. So we could definitely tap into Steve to talk a little bit about how that might be written into a contract. But, we have fundraised for that amount of produce, and we will buy that amount of produce. And if there are issues with the growing season or weather-related incidents, they substitute or they sub in a different item.
That's amazing.
And we juggle, we have a recipe team that Jenny's on, and we meet, and that's pretty much what we do is we're like, okay, we got ground beef this week, we got tomatillos, we got jalapenos, like, what are we doing? And then we look at what can we get for pantry staple items, and like what can Mississippi Market get. It's going to be an interesting year just because this is also the largest group that we've had. So 1,500 boxes is not light lifting, and so there's also some restraints on finding enough of stuff. So.
Man, thank you.
While still being able to work with those local producers, we could find enough of stuff. And that's really where we do have to, again, balance. It's like, where do we want to spend our dollars? We want to spend our dollars with local growers. We want to spend our dollars on local proteins as much as we can. So, we might make concessions around, where are we getting some of, the other items or pantry staples or grains and things. I mean, we love working with Mississippi Market to order bulk grains, bulk locally grown grains like millet and things like that. But and then there was a question to the box cost, and Brandon answered it in here. And so we're also always trying to balance, how.
So I have to read what's in the chat, Therese, because those are on be able to see it. So thank you for that. So there was a question: what meal costs do you need? Or is that the first one? Yeah. What meal costs do you need to hit per meal for this program? There was a response: community partnerships and grassroots relationships go a long way, especially culturally specific. Box costs can vary. A box can go anywhere from $10 to $30, depending on how much the box is subsidized. And there was another additional comment. We can also continue to use these types of experiences as opportunities for education, like a CSA. We are affected by what is available and it keeps us connected to our producers. Thanks for those comments and questions. We got about 2 minutes left here if you had a response or if anyone else had a comment or question on this section.
And I'll just drop my contact information in the chat. So I am happy to connect offline.
I think Kim got his hands up too.
Yeah, thank you.
See your hand there, Kim.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. What a great program. How exciting that this is the sort of first full year you're moving forward with this. Is that right? Or like in the 30-week program, or no?
No, this will be the third year. So it was,
Okay.
you know, it was started 2020, smaller, you know, a smaller group, and it's grown since then. So 2020, 2021, and then this year, 2023, will be our largest year yet.
Got it. Okay. I was just curious about, like, and the program is designed to be 30 weeks. Like, what happens during the other, 22 weeks a year, with people maybe getting in the routine of having this great box come in? What happens during that sort of gap in the year?
Yeah, that's a good question. At the end of the program, because so many of our partners are in this food access, food distribution, food justice world, we make strong connections to some of the other resources that are available. You know, Clues does weekly food distributions. Merrick Community Services on the east side is one of our major east side table partners. So some, other food shelves. So making connections to the existing resources that are available year round. And part of, as we move into, as this program like kind of puts down its roots and becomes this like long-term staying around program, having really interesting conversations about how we do address that we live in Minnesota. The growing season lasts from June until maybe October, November, when storage crops start running out. And so what are some long-term projects or possibilities that we can continue to collaborate on? I'm getting really excited thinking about some local processing facility where we purchase this local produce and we process it, either preserve, can, freeze, and then be able to use it year round in the meal boxes. That's not happening. That's not yet, that's just a brainstorm, but we, thinking about that. The other thing that I will say about that Fairview, the RX programs, we have a Veggie Rx program, which is that very traditional CSA model. You get prescribed the CSA shares, and we work with, culturally appropriate farmers to offer those. But then we also offer like a market RX program. So working with the food group in the Twin Cities mobile market, we prescribe, dollars to the mobile market. And then the participants are able to, they get $80 per month to go use at either the Twin Cities mobile market or Fair for All. So then just identifying other partners that might work more, beyond those 30 weeks and think about those as connections or possibilities.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for your question, Kim. Thank you so much, Therese. And Therese did drop her information in the chat. Her email, Therese, is spelled T-E-R as in Robert, E, S as in Sam, E. So it's therese.hill@fairview.org. I'll also read your phone number out if that's okay, Therese. The phone number is listed as 651-815-3389. Awesome. Thanks so much for your presentation and all your hard work. It's working. It's one of those things, right? Like, it's working. So thank you. Our next part of our agenda will be a part of kind of our food council orientation. It's like, how do you do this? In the matrix, we're all probably zoomed out at 7:02. But we're wanting to make sure that we create spaces and opportunities for some onboarding, some questions, just kind of understanding the culture of the Food Policy Council and the work of the Food Policy Council. And so I'm going to turn it over to Grace and Abdi and Patty we're going to add a little trivia and Q&A and discussion that we're going to go over. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I'm not sure if anyone else on the team has anything to say before I pull up the trivia, but we've done it before. We've got a few more questions. I promise I won't bore you with a bunch. Well, it's something I think good to go over a little bit at a time, and a little bit topic by topic, and then talk a little bit more about some other resources that are available. So let me just pull that up here real quick. We know the drill.
Just a reminder, I don't know if there's anyone new on the call tonight. There is the Minneapolis Food Action Plan survey. And if you haven't seen or participated in that yet, please do so, and I'll put the link in the chat.
Thank you. Yeah, I can talk a little bit more about that too.
After the trivia.
Yeah, but that's okay. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, main point is please fill out the food action plan survey and encourage other people to participate. So if we have our little QR code and link here to get going on the trivia, we'll go through just like 5 questions or so. The link is http://etc.ch/QJ and that's etc.ch/QJ and I'll let people get logged in here and then kick us off to hoping that I can start us off in the middle where we left off last time. So I'll just give us a few seconds. Can do a little bit more of a blurb about food action plan stuff while I talk, cover a few bases. Or actually, I'll talk more about the relevant topic. Apologies, a little bit of a roller coaster brain here. Just in terms of orientation stuff, we've got this great little trivia game that I know works for some people, but we also have a lot of documents available, both that were shared on the January 19th meeting agenda that is posted on lims.minneapolismn.gov, as well as was sent out to everybody, as well as the bylaws and the resolution are on the LIMS as well, just like as independent documents. So that is a good source for rules and why Minneapolis Homegrown Food Council was started in the first place. And you are also welcome to reach out to me for any of those documents as well. And after a few questions here, I'll share a little bit more about some of the other documents that it'll lead us into. All right, we're feeling good. I can't see you all, so I'm just going to assume we got people going.
Grace, just see if there are any questions or anybody having trouble getting to the poll.
Oh yeah, thank you. Any questions?
All right, I think I have it up.
Cool, great. I'll kick us off here. And you can always join the link down here at the bottom. So this is our last question, and I'll kick us as a reminder. Our last one we left off on was the Homegrown Minneapolis Food Council envisions a vibrant local food system that enhances the health of all participants or all residents, protects the earth, increases economic vitality, expands social connectedness, improves food security, or all of the above. And of course, our answer is all of the above. All right, our next new question here is true or false? This is the fun questions. The city charter is like the Constitution for the city of Minneapolis. Is that true or is that false? Awesome. Got good answers in. The answer is true. The city charter is, maybe not as lengthy as the United States Constitution, but is still quite a big document that serves the same similar function. So on that topic, what are some of the things the city charter outlines? Policy processes, operating structure and responsibilities, the names of government officials, specific ordinances, A and B, which are policy processes and operating structure, and all of the above. Lots of questions, I know. Right. And our answer is A and B. So the city charter outlines operating structure and responsibilities, as well as policy processes, but does not list any specific ordinances. That is part of the municipal code. On that topic, where do you find information about the city's laws and ordinances, etc., all that fun stuff? Either the basement of City Hall, the Municode website, the Minneapolis Library, or the Minneapolis Farmers Market. We're all doing great. The answer, you're right, super fun place, if no one's ever been. The Municode website is the correct answer. It is easy to find from the City of Minneapolis website and lists all of the ordinances and their history and all of that fun stuff. Which, if you haven't explored, is quite the place. We also have, what is the Minneapolis 2040 Comprehensive Plan? Is it a financial planning document, a long-range land use planning document, or a calendar of all upcoming city meetings? If we all remember, this was in process a few years ago. Yeah, you're all correct. The Minneapolis 2040 Comp Plan is a long-range land use planning document. I promise this is relevant. We'll get to why in a second. What year was the Minneapolis 2040 Comprehensive Plan passed by the City Council? This is a tricky question because obviously not in 2040. So do a little thinking here. Good range. All right, the answer is 2019. The process started a few years before that. It was passed in 2019. All right, and this is part of the reason why we're bringing up, and the last question I will talk about tonight. True or false, the Minneapolis 2040 Comprehensive Plan has a policy about urban agriculture and local food production. Great job. Yeah, you're all correct. The answer is true. The Minneapolis 2040 Comprehensive Plan does have a policy about urban agriculture and local food production. So this is something really important to our work at the Homegrown Food Council, because it outlines things about local food and about urban agriculture and all these things we've been talking about today and that we'll talk about in the future, and is sort of the basis for why we can get started on a lot of this work. So that is our orientation slides, and I'll just pause that and stop sharing and ask if anyone has any questions, and otherwise I'll talk a little bit more about where you can find some more information like that if you are curious. Does anyone have any questions about, I don't know, the city charter, fun stuff?
Well, let's just establish that I was the winner. I got them all. It's not a competition, but thank you so much, Grace, for making it interactive. Any questions or anything that stood out to you or struck you or curious about? I see something in the chat. Let's see here. Thank you from Abdi. Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, so the main thing I'll say about this information, right, I've been giving a little overview of these questions over our last few meetings. And all of this is sort of a dissemination of information, thanks to, I'll get to that in a second, about the Food Council history and the history of the Homegrown Minneapolis initiative, and also what it means to be on the Food Council, which is a lot of stuff. And as I said, some of that information was linked on that January 19th agenda, which was sent out to members January 18th. So bylaws, establishing resolution, the training manual for boards and commissions, super fun, long document, but has all of the rules if you ever want a good nighttime read, but is actually very important, as well as the health department organization chart and some other interesting documents that kind of give a sense of how the boards and commissions, and specifically the Food Council, kind of fit into the city structure and how we get things done. On that topic, that is, well, first of all, as I said before, is on lims.minneapolismn.gov for people who are curious, and I can also send that out to anybody. Just send me an email. We also have a lot of, this is part of the other thing, and hopefully I'll pull up Jenny's question here to get to some of that. We have a lot of other documents about the history of Homegrown that we didn't want to send all at once, but there's a lot of different highlights and previous council actions, like previous Food Council actions and all of that sort of thing. So that's something kind of open for discussion. If people want to talk about that in the meeting, or if there's stuff people are interested in specifically, they can reach out and I can send that. But to talk about Jenny's question, yeah, and thank you, Patty, for sharing the link to the Minneapolis 2040 plan. It is a really long document, but that would be something interesting maybe if people are interested in talking about kind of how food fits into the 2040 plan. That's something you're certainly welcome to talk about at the future. But this was my reminder and also question of if people wanted to hear more about homegrown history and how they wanted to hear about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Grace. Any other additions, Abdi or Patty? Your name was next to trivia, so. No.
No,
Awesome.
Grace covered it. We were very intentional about wanting to make sure that public health showed up in the 2040 plan. I just put the segment of the plan in the chat. And yeah, if there is interest in homegrown history, you're seeing history right here. Let's see, Devon, myself, Kristen Klingler, you know, there's Jenny, there's a bunch of us who were kind of there at the beginning. So, you know, if we could certainly do something at the next meeting if there's interest in learning more about the history of homegrown.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I'd be glad to share. Just thinking about the journey, right? Like it's been amazing. So thank you for the question, Danielle, and thank you so much for sharing the links and your question as well, Jenny. The comp plan. That's why I knew the year, because we were able to be a part of helping to shape that section on urban agriculture. So really excited to see that it's in there and we're working at it. Let's see. I think I saw something else. Liz is like yes to the history. So awesome. Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Grace? Awesome. So a little bit of homework to do there. If you need some night reading. There's bylaws. There's that January 19th email that Grace mentioned. That 2040 comp plan, getting in there. I think it has that search function where you can just put urban agriculture or food access or food justice or gardening or word search type things in there. It's very interactive. We wanted it to be accessible. So a little homework to do. So we got about 14 minutes left, and wanted to create a space for let me just get back to my agenda. Sorry about that. For updates from council members. If you have something you want to contribute, or if you're on the you can raise your hand or unmute yourself while you're figuring that out. I will just mention one thing that came up earlier around the fruit and vegetable prescription programs, Fruit and Veggie Rx. And at the West Broadway Farmers Market, we had the wonderful opportunity to pilot that program with Wholesome Wave and in partnership with, I think it was Blue Cross Blue Shield Center for Prevention, if I remember right. And piloted with North Point, and it was called Northside Fresh Bucks. And at that point, you did have to, get a prescription for your food as medicine or as preventative care, as Jenny said in the chat, for your produce at the market. But what we found, again, always that question around sustainability. Oftentimes, the things that we know are most impactful are sometimes the hardest to show the impact and or sustain. But, the participants started showing up even after that program ended, the pilot ended, and they were like showing up to their doctor's office, like, where's my prescription? Farmers market season's coming, like, what's up? And so we've been able to continue that program at the West Broadway Farmers Market. So it's an internal program at this point. There's a national model if folks are interested in connecting with Wholesome Wave is the organization that I'm familiar with. But we know that well, I shouldn't say we know, we have health department people on here who can give you the data around the impacts around increased, fruit and vegetable consumption. But there are all these, opportunities there, I think, to demonstrate what we know works. So I'll stop talking because there's a whole bunch of announcements that could be happening. If you have something you want to contribute, please jump in.
I will just say again, I put the Food Action Plan survey link in the chat. It is z.umn.edu/MPLS Food Action Plan Survey. And that would be great. As a reminder, fill it out. We're doing our push. It's open through the end of the month. We've got social media ads, and we'd love your networks to share it and fill it out. That would be great. Yeah, we're just really excited about it. So that's our update. And
Thank you, Grace and Marcus, for the reminders. If you don't know what the Food Action Plan is, another little something you can do a little homework on. quite a lot of work has gone into that as well, in partnership with the University of Minnesota Office of Applied Economics, and all the things that we've been working on for many years, in partnership with this wonderful community government partnership with Homegrown. So we can talk more about Food Action Plan. I'm sure we will over the next few months. So any other announcements?
Hey everyone, it's Helen. Grace helped me send out some hiring announcements earlier this week. So if you know folks who are interested in water and sustainability and anything from permitting to planning to communications and engagement, please help us spread the word. Thanks.
Thank you, Helen. Awesome. Anyone else? Seeing none, let me just check the chat really quick, make sure I'm not missing anyone. And anyone on the phone? Oh, I see Claire.
Sorry, I didn't know if community members were, like, if I was open to announce, but Grace just sent me a message. So yeah, I have a super quick one for the group, and you'll probably see it arrive in your inboxes in the coming month or so as well. But I'm here on behalf of Minneapolis Solid Waste and Recycling. Doesn't seem immediately correlating, but we're holding on May 14th garden tool swap events at 7 parks across Minneapolis. And we ask for your support in promoting that event. It is going to very directly tie to community gardens. And I think we're already in conversation with Rebecca Gross, who's not on the call today, but for the rest of you all to be informed, we'll be hosting that at 7 parks. Kelly Kish and her previous Green Corps member last spring did this at 4 parks, and we're excited to hopefully expand and see a larger turnout. So the way it works, just for anyone that hasn't attended a swap event before, is we'll be asking community members to bring usable, gently used garden tool or yard care items to basically just parking lots. And you can take and leave as many things as you like. There's no exchange of currency, and you don't have to bring anything to take anything. The goal is that everything goes home. And one addition this year is that we're finalizing neighborhood community partners right now. But the plan is to have one or two people that are part of those partnerships hold on to usable leftover items and post them on Buy Nothing groups, or take them to their next farmer's market and throw up a quick sign, and in that way make sure that any leftover items continue to be left with community members near those parks. Last year we took all of those items and just distributed them in one locality, so we're excited to keep disseminating useful items. Yeah, so more details to come on that soon. And I politely ask that if you see anything, to amplify it. And if you or anyone you know is interested in volunteering, because this will be a kind of volunteer-driven event, I am going to drop my email in the chat, and feel free to connect with me, and I can keep you in the loop as we recruit volunteers and finalize things. I think that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Claire. Any other? Oh, I see something happening here. Let's see.
That was
chat.
It's
Got it.
claire.minowski@mn.gov. So thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Any others?
Say, Devon, I had one I want to just throw out there, thinking in the future. This year we're reconvening the neighborhood groups at the Community Connections Conference on May 21st. It'll be at the Minneapolis Convention Center. And one of the unique things that we're doing this year is that we're going to be having a Green Zone Summit. So basically a track of information and, seminar, I'm saying webinars. It's actually in person, but it's going to have a track of learning modules or learning opportunities around environmental justice and learning about green zones and what are the important topics in relationship to that. So just wanted to have that, mark that on your calendar, because I think it's a really great opportunity to see a lot of different organizations, and it's all being connected with our neighborhood organizations as well too. So this year we have that added bonus of a Green Zone Summit track that many people could participate around environmental justice and food justice. So I wanted to put that on your calendar.
It's beautiful.
Thank you, Kim. I know we're talking May already, but guess what? It'll be for you.
Yeah. Is there a link to
And,
that? You have a link to that?
Yeah.
Patty's on it. I'm telling you, we got
We're
a great
starting on it.
thing going.
Put it in the chat.
There it
Thanks
is.
for that. Awesome. Any other announcements? No? I'm going to give you 6 minutes of your evening. With that, we've completed all the items on the agenda for this meeting. I did drop in the chat. Community members can email homegrown@minneapolismn.gov with comments or questions. We've completed that. Thank you to everyone, our council members, our community members, for joining us tonight and participating in our discussion. To those who presented, brought all the wonderful information. Just keep showing up. That's what I'll say. It gets better every time. We put a lot of work and thought into making sure these meetings are not just informative and meaningful, but fun. Like, we want to have fun. We're volunteers. I want to have fun when I'm volunteering. So hopefully we're okay with a little bit of fun. Yeah. Do council members or staff or others have anything else to bring before we adjourn? No? With that, if no objections, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Our next Homegrown Food Council meeting will be April 13th. Please mark your calendars. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
awesome.
you.